city you burn, I'm gonna build one high.
Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtrothy, and it is the Eve Universe Show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is, that's the wrong one. It is, oh man. Hold on. No. I checked everything. All right, we're gonna redo this. This is why I started a few minutes early, right? All right, good, excellent, something that's closer. All right. Once more into the breach. Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtrothy, and it is April 4th, YC125, and this is the Eve Universe Show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for coming. If you are returning, thank you so much for being here. Either way, make sure you like the video if you find any of this interesting or fun, and if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel so that way you can get all of my videos when they come out, including the live streams. But yeah, let's go ahead and start to jump into the news. I have been gone. Oh yeah, also, first of news, I now have my new t-shirt, and I'm drinking out of my new Convocation of Empyreans mug, which are just some of the merchandise that are now available on my merch store, which, if you cannot see it for some reason, let me know. For some reason, some people can't see the merch store. Maybe if you don't have your payment information put into YouTube or something. I don't know exactly what it is, but if you don't, let me know. Because some people just don't see it, if you are interested. But, enough shtick. We have so much to cover. I've been gone. My son had spring break, so I had to do that. And I was hoping to, like, work on some stuff in the background. And I did work on some stuff in the background, but it was mostly just running sites, doing the event, and coordinating things otherwise. Didn't get to do much of the stuff about, like, improving the stream or whatever, but I do have my new ADHD meds, so hopefully that means that positive things are coming for everybody. But we also, so today we have the New Eden news to go over. We have a scope news to go over. We have, I think, an economic report we could talk about. And of course, I have all of the stuff that I figured out, or that we've learned about this Shadow War as time has gone on. So, first things first, because I kind of want to give everybody a nice time to come in and settle down. We've been gone for a little while. People may not be ready to just jump in. So I think that the first thing that we should cover is actually just an update on the Shadow War. Hold on. Mess this up. There it is. There we go. Okay, so here we are with the current up-to-date Shadow War stats. Hold on. Can I... Is this really it? Yeah, okay, never mind. Whatever. Fine. Fine. So, as you can see, basically, there's a few things that we can take from this. The Gallente are currently beating out the Amarr, but not the Minmatar when it comes to the relay tech, and that the Caldari has taken a pretty sizable lead at this point on the Stellar Research tech. But looking through this graph, we kind of see a big picture here. So before we begin anything, it's worth noting that the Gallente have twice as much work as anyone else to do. They have to do both the transmuter, the stellar relay, and the stellar transmuter and the relay tech. They need to complete them both before they can begin the construction project. The Caldari only need to complete the stellar research, and the Amarr and Minmatar only need to complete the relay research. One of the reasons why you see such a low percentile within these areas versus these areas, or, these two, is because here we have 3 people competing over a technology that only one group has. And over here we have 2 people competing over something that 2 groups have. So there's more space and less people competing for these sides, which becomes incredibly important because these sites are extraordinarily dangerous for various reasons, which we will probably talk about. Both high sec and low sec come with their own particular threats. But what we see here actually, based on our calculations, we did a spike, which we thought was fairly okay, but it's almost unnoticeable on here total. But when we put in, I think it was 30 turn-ins. No, 300 turn-ins, right? I think it was. I think it was 300 turn-ins. And we got 0.4%. So we figured out that we're pretty sure that this first jump of the cow mill, which was about 1.2%, was roughly 1,000 data cores, which gives us the estimate that the overall, to accomplish the entire mission, would be roughly 100,000 data cores. As of right now, they sell for somewhere between 20 to 40 million ISK each on the market, with possibly even more if you try to piece them together with just the pieces and the blueprints. They're worth quite a bit on the market, considering the fact that 10 data cores is only worth about 100 to 200 million ISK on average per turn-in like loot. So if you're just buying these data cores outright, you're going to be paying at least 4 times as much. I think you're only going to get a tenth, really, of the value that you get that you put in back. I can't remember if those numbers are exactly right, but it's like you get some of your money back, obviously, if you just buy them outright. But certainly you are spending money to turn in progress, for sure, just based on the value of everything. That said, here we see a jump of 4%. No, sorry, 7%, I think it was. This is a 7% jump from 22... Wait. From 24... from 24 to 28. Yeah, 4% jump. That's what it was. Which we calculated, like, if you were just to put an ISK value on that, this little bump right here is a 80 billion ISK bump, by the way. That's pretty rough. Now we have heard, or I have heard, that the person who did this, or that was mostly involved in this, it was a combination of just lots and lots of farming within the Minmatar territory, and also, well, yeah, it's basically they could have gotten a Titan, but instead they got this up vertical line on this graph. Is basically what it boils down to. But yeah, apparently a lot of this was in fact farmed by them, but they did buy a bunch to make up the difference. But it's a very very impressive flex by the Caldari. But outside of these two major spikes, you can see that actually the Gallente and the Caldari have been pretty much neck and neck on their overall progress, just their normal progress. Likewise, the Gallente and the Amarr, the Gallente have slowly started to outpace the Amarr. So what that means is that overall it looks like the Caldari are on track to definitely be the first people out of phase 1. with the Minmatar being close behind them. Because remember, the Gallente have to finish both. But as far as like overall progress goes, the Gallente have definitely made more overall percent, have done more. And that's kind of important because there is a third phase that everyone has to go through, which is the construction phase. Yeah, Amar just wants pew pew on Minmatar and Aga. It is true. There has been a lot of conflict, and so a lot of the Amar loyalists have been focusing more on fighting in the war zone, whereas different loyalists from different sides have been doing different things. Why are all the people on the Caldari side? Is it because of the standings? People often tend towards Caldari because of Jita, because of RP reasons, because there's a lot of reasons why Caldari end up being powerful. But it's worth noting that like what we're seeing here on the Caldari side is effectively a wallet flex, right? And it is true that of the four empires, the Caldari loyalists are by far the most wealthy. Okay, so that's true. But the Caldari also do have a very we're going to say fanatically loyal RP group. It's actually tough to say, in my opinion, who has the more fanatically loyal RP group, the Caldari, the Amar, or the Minmatar. But I know that like the Amar have like by far the longest lasting RP fanatical group in that sort of sense, but they aren't always focused on like these kinds of things with like Pi or whatever. Triggs. Well, we've got sleeper agents all over. Wait, I mean, they've got sleeper agents all over the place. No, but the Minmatar loyalists are definitely willing to put themselves, put their effort in it. It's worth noting that this entire website exists because of Electus Matari, Minmatar loyalists. So there is that. Yeah, normally I would say the Minmatar, and the Amar are probably the more hardcore RPers, where the Minmatar are more the hardcore, like, in-game players. But the Caldari, the recent resurgence, and I hesitate to even say recent, but, like, really in the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen an increasingly strong RP contingent within the Caldari that are in fact focused on basically accomplishing the objectives of the state, right? Whereas a lot of the other RPers are interested in kind of the story or like more important or like broader issues or what they like about the Empire. I hate to be dismissive of it in that sense, but like as far as like, yep, there's a task that makes the Caldari look good and we're going to do it. And the Caldari have proven over and over again that they are the ones that are the most dedicated in that field. However, unlike last time, the Caldari can't choke out the Gallente like they did before. So that's why we see good progress by the Gallente side, because the Gallente also have some pretty fanatical loyalists that are willing to work hard. And groups like Aderon Robotics, Convocation of Empyreans, and others who are willing to... we've been getting fleets out there all day long, at all different times. I've been doing stuff solo in the Caldari Gallente Warzone. We've got, hauling services, all that kind of stuff. So there you go. All right. So that's as far as what's going on progress-wise. And like I said, actually, one other thing about this is, remember, like, so here's an interesting thing. I talked about how much the cores are expensive right now, and that is true. But think about it this way. The only reason why the cores are expensive right now is because A, they're useful, and B, there's a competition for them, right? So as soon as the Caldari hit 100%, or even get close to hitting 100%, we likely will see a radical change in the economics of all of this, right? Because as the Caldari and Gallente get close to completing their tasks, suddenly those stellar tech research things go from being, this commodity that everybody that is very valuable because people are competing for it, to something that like pretty soon somebody's going to be holding the bag, right? And so I suspect that you probably will see a pretty quick sell-off to help finish the end of those that cycle, right? Like especially when the Caldari finish, at that point, you either sell it to the Gallente for whatever they're buying it for, or you don't do anything, which is a good point, right? If you want skins, okay, it's worth noting that if you want the rewards from the event and you have not chosen a side yet, you can choose any side you want and not necessarily progress their thing, right? So, like, if you want Amar skins, but you want to help the Gallente complete their stuff, the only thing you can't do for points is turn in, right? However, you have to do something that does appear to accomplish your side's task. So if you side with the Amar, you can only get points by doing relay research stuff. If you side with the Caldari, you can only do stellar research stuff in Amar and Mimitar side. If you go with Gallente, you can do either side. You get the Gallente skins and the Gallente drugs. If those are the ones you want, you can do either side. And remember, when the Caldari complete their task, the only way to get points for the Caldari will be to do the Pochvin stuff. Likewise, you know, same with the Mimitar, the Amar, everybody, right? So it is important to get in there. If you, like, right now, points are very easy to get because people need these cores churned out quickly, you know, all that stuff. In fact, if somebody wants points, especially if you're in the convocation, come message me because we need cores to be cranked out, and we don't have, or like a lot of us already have our points finished. But again, as this completes, this is going to suddenly take a total reversal where now the only way to get these things are going to have been participating in this event. And it does complete. So there's that. Anyone can still turn in for no progress for boxes, though? No, that's what I'm saying. I don't think that that's true. It's just like right now, you can't turn in Stellar Research Tech to Caldari. They don't need it. Likewise, so here's the thing. As soon as the Caldari complete the relay, the Stellar Research Tech, they will no longer accept Stellar Research Tech, and their sites will now start spawning Stellar Research Tech. So then, Caldari will be spawning both Stellar Research Tech and Transport Tech in their space. What is the best site to run for points? So, honestly, data or salvage, because, like, if you want to run the sites for points, you want to do it solo. The vast majority of points comes from manufacturing and turning in of the data cores. So if you have basic industry skills and Science 5, you can crank out cores for 15 points per core, and even if you don't, you can still turn in if you side with the side you want to turn into for 150 points per 10 cores. It is worth noting that you can turn in for the wrong team. My character who sides for the Caldari did turn into the Gallente today. She didn't get any points from anybody, but she did get the crates. Yes, you team up with somebody who completed the reward track already. That's what I'm saying. There are plenty of people that if you have the capability of manufacturing these cores right now, if you need the points, you can just grind these cores all day. Like, I'm not joking. Yeah, the crates, again, so they won't... Yes, you can turn in the crates to anybody who will... You can turn in for the crates to anybody who's still accepting that tech, regardless of which side you are on. You can get the skins from the boxes, but not the penumbral shadow skin. Those are only from the track. I found that on average we get about 100 million ISK per can, or per turn-in. But when we turn in about 10 to 11, those of us who have been slightly lucky have gotten at least 200 million ISK worth of stuff with at least... Generally speaking, if you're lucky, you should get at least 100 million ISK per can worth of just tokens. And then all the drugs and skins and all that stuff on top of that is on top of that. How many data cores to complete the track? You know, we could find that out real quick. Hold on. Let's do some math. Or let's count, rather. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so they're in sets of 3. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, 33. So 33, 3,300 points. Divided by 15. So you'd have to build 220 cores, or half that if you also turn them in. That was just if you turn it in, it's half that. That's just including the 15 points for crafting. So yeah. Or, you know, here's the thing though, like, if you want to make a name for yourself, Eve is all about your stories, right? This graph will probably always exist from now on. This is now an event that is happening, and it'll. Please don't be the school. Hold on a second. Hello. I was muted after I said hello, right? Like, my thing's not lying to me. Right? Okay, good. No, that was just apparently that was the bus driver just telling me that he's going to be dropping off my son a little bit later from now on, starting tomorrow. Don't worry about it. I do appreciate you guys looking out for me, though. Okay, so let's see. Where were we? What were we talking about? When data cores work, are created, and how they're turned in. Yes, if you go to this website, this is my Shadow War Notion page, where I've collected all the different information. I should probably update at least some of this, but I mean, it's all pretty good. Here are the 3 different sites. Here are all the rats that you'll run into. Here's the process of manufacturing. Oh, that's right. That's what I was talking about. And then we'll get more into the construction phase once we get there. Yeah, if you want to make a name for yourself, you know, obviously the story of this guy is going to be told, but like, this is a thing that's happening, and someday this will be a thing that happened. So I don't know how much they're going to like commend individual people during the World New Eden News. They probably will. I hope that we get a lot of stats out of this stuff, and it could be a lot of fun. But either way, you know, this mark will forever exist. You know, if you are part of faction warfare from now on, you know, these transmuters are going to be a thing. People are going to talk about how they were created. So, you know, in a small way, I know that there are people that are actually interested in like making their mark. If you have too many Titans, for the low price of a Titan, you can get your own vertical line on a graph. But you know, this time make it be a green vertical line. That's all. Anywho, so effectively, what you do is you just get the. Well, let's just talk a little bit about what we now know about this whole thing. Okay, so overall, the goal here is that you want to build these data cores. You need to have 3 encryption keys, 6 index files, and 100 data fragments, plus 10 Noxium, 50 Pyrite, and a recursive computing module per data core to complete it. we have found that on average, you find these in roughly the correct ratio. Sometimes I've ran out of data fragments. Sometimes I've ran out of index files a couple of times, like as the thing I run out of first. There has been sometimes where they're like blueprints are kind of touch and go. We suspect that the different sites may drop things in different ratios. And if that is true, it's very possible that the large combat sites are the ones that are the better source of the BPCs. But that is largely speculative. But in general, like I went out, like if you average it out, it averages out to about correct. Like I went and ran 4 waylaid sites and got enough for 11 data cores. And I got everything, right? I got exactly the right amount of BPCs and roughly the right amount of everything else. And, you know, sometimes you get a couple extra, sometimes you don't get enough. It's basically what it boils down to. Now, what I found was on average, I would get about 3 data cores worth of stuff per waylaid and about 2.5 data cores per site when I'm doing data sites. I'm less clear about the combat sites because those are often those are almost always done by us as a fleet, so it gets split up or whatever, and I haven't really been one of the looters very much, but I think it's close to like 6 or 7 per battlecruiser site. So in the scout site, we'll start with that one first. For the research data node, the first and foremost, the thing that you need to know about, the thing that is the most unusual thing about the research data node is, unlike other scan signatures, data nodes can be detected outside of the system that that you are currently in, and without scanning them. Allow me to demonstrate. If I open up the faction warfare, or if I open up the agency, and I go to the encounters, faction warfare systems area, as long as I'm going to the low sec systems, if I'm doing this in the high sec systems, it's more complicated. But in the low sec systems, I can basically check anywhere. Check this out. Odo, which is 3 jumps from me right now, I can see that it has a data node in it. Hazmajala has 2 data nodes. Hikokin has a data node. Rakapas does not. Natoras has 2 data nodes. 4 data nodes in Rakapas right now. Natoras, rather. Hiri has 3. Kadama has 1, right? So here's the thing, though. If I was to go to Natoras, and I would see, as an anomaly, I would see the small advanced 1, scout Navy 1, small Navy 1, medium Navy 1, large Navy 1, and waylaid state courier. I would not see the data nodes, but what I would see is at least 4 signatures. When I scan down those signatures, I would find these 4 data nodes. So even though you can see them from outside of the system, you still have to scan them down. And also worth noting that once I go to Natoras, I will no longer see these data nodes showing up on this list. You cannot see data node sites in the same system as you via this method. Okay? Now, once I've scanned them down, no, you do need to scan them down. Once you've scanned them down and you warp to it, however, it does create a beacon. Hold on. It does create a beacon in space, which means that once you have warped to it, anyone can warp to you, or at least to the beacon, right? So just like a Plex, right? In faction warfare, a Plex first starts out as an anomaly, but then as soon as somebody warps to it, it appears as a thing, a warpable thing in space. Or these waylay couriers, as soon as somebody warps to them, they show up as a beacon. The data nodes do too, so be very careful about that. Now, all 3 of these sites also create a suspect flag as soon as you go in. So everybody who goes in, including you, is going to be suspect and therefore engageable by anybody. High sec, low sec, doesn't matter. All right, so these are the conditions by which the sites operate. So that's the threat. All right, so let's talk about how to run the site given all that. The site itself, hold on. The site itself has several waves of rats that are all, I'm going to go with crows and cheetahs. Okay? The crows do damage to any of the 4 damage types, and they do warp disruption. The cheetah does warp disruption, scram, and newts, right? Yeah, it does energy newts. I don't know why I don't have energy newts. Energy newt. How do you join this? Well, oh, that's a good point. Okay, so if you haven't joined already, then you open up your agency, and in the very beginning it should say faction campaigns. Otherwise, you should be able to go to encounters and go to factional campaigns. There's only one faction campaign at the moment. And then once you get to here, it'll give you the 4 empires and make you choose which empire you want to work for. And it'll show you what skins you can get and all that stuff for doing so. And then once you get through there, once you've chosen a faction, you can do this. It's not faction, but this isn't faction warfare. It's just the factions want to do this. So you don't have to be part of faction warfare to be part of this. It's just each of the factions are competing for this to be completed. This is the new, so CCP has moved to these factional campaigns, which are these new kind of events that are longer lasting and change the face of the universe in critical ways. Okay, so the different factions are trying to build this new technology. The new technology is to the advantage of faction warfare. That is true, but you do not need to be in faction warfare at all to participate in any of this at all. There's no faction warfare component to the actual stuff, except for that's where the sites spawn, right? Okay, so either way, when you first get into the data site, you will basically land on 3 to 4 rats that can be a collection of cheetahs or crows, and/or crows. The worst case scenario is you can get like 4 cheetahs. My favorite fits for this so far, actually, let's show this. I've been using an Imicus Navy. I know there's a Heron Navy that has been working too, but this is what I use. I use an Imicus Navy. It's got the probe launcher. It has a salvager just in case I end up going into a salvage site for some reason. It has a micro warp drive and an afterburner. It's got a medium shield extender, the data analyzer, triple power diagnostic systems, and a damage control, and 2 extenders and a purger. Okay, so basically you go in there, and what I do is I immediately launch drones, double click in space, and hit my micro warp drive overheated. Instantly, you're going to be locked, scrammed, and have that inner micro warp drive shut off. So then you slam on the afterburner. Because here's the thing. When you first show up into that site, everyone knows that you just got there. Even if the site didn't just show up, you just went suspect. So everyone knows that you're there. You are near the point where everyone comes in, so you're where they will be, and you are scrammed. You need to change these conditions as quickly as possible, right? So what you do is you burn off with an afterburner, hopefully an overheated afterburner, and prioritize killing all of the cheetahs. But you want to lock all of your initial wave's targets, okay? Within about 20 seconds or so, a second wave will show up. Once you've killed all the cheetahs in the first wave, you'll want to turn off your afterburner and turn back on your micro warp drive, so that way you can kite out everybody from that point on. You'll want to kill the cheetahs in the second wave, you'll want to kill all of the rats in the first wave, including all the crows in the first wave. And then all the cheetahs of the second wave, and all but 1 or 2 of the crows in the second wave. And that's all you have to do. You can leave 1 or 2 crows up from the second wave, and it won't spawn a third. You'll be warp disrupted, but you can still use your micro warp drive, and you're faster than them, so you can just burn off and then warp off if you need to. It'll, you know, the other option is you kill all the rats, and I think there's like 5 different waves to do so. So that's pretty much how you control the site, and then you just gonna go around and hack all the cans with the 2 crows, or at least I usually go around and hack all the cans with the 2 crows picking on me. And you just keep an eye on your D-scan and local, and if anybody goes suspect, you know that they're, if you see somebody on your gate and then they go suspect, you know they're on their way. It's probably time to be skedaddling, because remember, they don't have to use a scanning ship. They can use a comet or something. In fact, I got got by a comet because I stopped paying attention for a couple seconds. So, but otherwise, they're pretty easy. You get about 35 million ISK or so, 30 million ISK. Wait, no. Yeah, 30 to 50 million ISK per data site, I would say, if you hack all the cans. You can get lucky and get like a 40 million ISK drug in a single can. And like I said, you get about 2.5 data cores from those. The salvage sites have a central point, with, or the landing point, which is not near any of the cans specifically, but is kind of among the the 4 cans, or the 5 cans. There's one in the center, and then 1 can in each direction. And there's usually about 3 or 4 rats per wave. In those sites, we see all of the different rats smaller than cruiser. So we're going to see the cheetahs, the crows, the hyenas, the manticores. Wait, do you see manticores? Maybe not manticores. Raptors, wolves, and draugrs. The cheetahs are still a pretty nasty thing in the fact that they warp scram, but they're much smaller threat at this point because, of course, you now have a destroyer and assault frigate, and therefore you're able to kill them real quick. The hyenas are basically like cheetahs that are further away. So they're a little bit, you know, the cheetahs have to get close. The hyenas can do it from a little bit further away. The raptors are basically kind of like a crow, but a little bit nastier. Wolves are just up close DPS. The draugrs are going to be the thing that really spooks people. It's the, you know, sometimes you can get a spawn with double draugrs. Those things are spooky. So basically, draugrs become your highest priority, with hyenas being the second priority, and everything else being tertiary. And it looks like Dutch Gunner basically agrees with me, and Dutch Gunner's been running a lot of the Waylaid as well. So it's pretty simple. I like to just choose one of the other cans besides the one that's in the middle, because the one that's in the middle is usually the one that's closest to the beacon. So I choose like a can that's far away from the beacon, and I just go sit near it and let all the rats come to me and kill them. If I see anything spooky, I just start burning off while shooting them. You know, whatever. You kill all the rats. I think there's like 4 different waves. And then the 5th wave, when you kill basically 1 more rat, all of the cans spawn or like switch from being large collidable objects to being cans, and you can begin salvaging them. Okay? Now, the salvaging process is actually probably for most people going to be longer than the killing process. With Tech 2 salvagers and maximum skills, you have about 35% chance to salvage the can per cycle. If you do not have that, you have less of a chance. We have a few people that have, you know, salvage 3 or 4 and only Tech 1 salvagers. And this can take them a very, very long time to unlock a single can if they are lucky, or if they're unlucky. However, check this out. So this salvager right here, right? Like this is, I have max skill salvaging, all that kind of stuff. And a salvage 2, and I can see that I have 35% chance, like I just said. Here, let me actually show you it. There you go, 35% chance right there. 35% chance, okay? Cool. If I go to my Catalyst Navy, I have a special Catalyst Navy for Shadow Wars. This one has triple salvage tackle 2s, okay? Those rigs are 30 million each for the Tech 2. You can even work with Tech 1, okay? Excuse me. With those in mind, my salvage percentage is 80%. 80%. These 3 rigs are and this is a flat amount, by the way. Like, you can have level 3 skills and a Tech 1 module and 3 salvage tackle rigs and have a 70% chance to access. You'll be able to dunk even somebody with a Tech 2 if you want to. So I'm telling you guys, salvage tackle rigs are one of the biggest secrets to this event. Yeah, 80% can still take a couple of tries, obviously. Random is random. Okay. Yes, you do sacrifice PvP survivability. That's correct. Also, this fit isn't quite right. You're supposed. I think most of them are using Rails for their Catalyst Navy issues. Also, the Catalyst Navy issue struggles to complete them by themselves. I have actually been soloing them in my Retribution by any means necessary. So this is pretty simple. It's just pulse lasers in the top with the salvager. It's got an afterburner, Republic Fleet cap battery, a rep, thermal coating, assault damage control, multi-spectrum coating, heat sink. Probably could even upgrade one of these two, maybe. I don't know. Small burst aerator and locust coordinator, which means, of course, if you try to fit this thing and you're struggling to fit it because of power grid, make sure to double check your energy rig upgrade or energy rigging skills, because these are going to be significantly increasing the power grid of your lasers. Yeah, Retribution is really, really fun. I mean, obviously, I don't get any of the salvaging bonuses that I was just talking about, but yeah. Like I said, I ran 4 waylaid sites with this thing, and I ran it in just under 100, maybe an hour and a half, maybe. And I got about 280 million ISK estimated out of it, I want to say. Now, the estimateds are really weird for this event, because obviously all of the prices are super skewed because of the value of actually just turning it in and the value that gets lost in doing so effectively. But yeah, same. You get the idea. It has been plenty lucrative, that's for sure. Yeah. And the combat sites are pretty straightforward as far as things go. All of the different rats can spawn. There's 5 spawns. The last wave is a wave of just a ton of frigates. That's how you know that the battleship is about to land. And then the Panther lands a few seconds later. Once the Panther's killed, everybody warps off. And then you kill the structure, you loot the structure and the Panther, and you're done. It's also, that is a good point. It's worth noting that in the hacking site, when you hack the final can, as soon as you finish hacking the final can, the rats warp off. In the salvaging site, as soon as the can swap to being salvageable, the rats warp off. So, you don't actually have to kill all of the rats in either of those cases. Same with the frigate spawn with the Panther. So it's worth noting that all of this stuff that they are giving you is incredibly small. It should be incredibly easy to move at least all of the research stuff that you need wherever you need to go to build your stuff. With the exception of the recursive computing module. The recursive computing module is 100 meters cubed per one. However, there is a new thing that is now dropping in the event sites. You can now rarely get what's called a scorched container. A scorched container contains, among a few other not really things of note, a stack of recursive computing modules that can be somewhere between 3 to 7 is basically the bounds that we've seen of the recursive computing modules. Here's the kicker, though. The scorched container itself is 0.1 meters cubed. the contents of the Scorched container is somewhere between 300 to 700 or more meters cubed. So what this means is, do not open your Scorched containers until you're ready to build with this stuff, okay? Or at least it's at their last destination. But yeah, I think that that's kind of a lot of the stuff that we've learned so far. One more thing I guess that's worth noting. Well, if you need to find faction warfare sites in sites in faction warfare space, there's this image over here to help you out. It's worth noting that faction the suspect flag basically means that if somebody attacks one of the members of your group, they get to attack them, and nobody can give them any assistance unless the other person's a suspect too. So a lot of the actual predators for these sites have been staying outside of the sites, so they can pick and choose their battles and split up a group. Because even if your entire fleet of battlecruisers are all right there, and their entire fleet of whatever's right there, they can choose one of your dudes and have all of your guys attack that one dude. And now that one dude is fighting all of their guys, but none of your guys can help in any way. So just bear that in mind. Stay alert, stay alive, keep an eye on your D-scan, and keep with a group is the best option. The labs? All of the sites spawn all of the stuff. Yeah, all of the sites spawn all of the stuff. It's also worth noting that as of yesterday, we've started detecting people ganking people at the turn-in points. So make sure to go to the turn-in with a hardened drop-off ship. We saw 2 catalysts. It was able to kill a retribution. So just, tank accordingly. Yeah, that's the other thing is that it's really difficult to use like Logi in HiSec for the event sites, because a hostile could go in there and just like shoot a dude, and now all of your guys, like all of your remote reps, fail. Yeah, the Scorched containers come from all of the sites. You can get them in any of them. Let's see. Anything else? People think that the Gallente weren't going to win. We've got catching up to do, but we've been doing really good. Please come help us. Oh, the turning point for Amar has had hundreds of kills on the map for weeks. Whoopsie daisy. We are about 3 weeks into this event now, I believe, right? We've just closed out the 3rd week, I want to say. And we're about a little bit under a third of the way through phase 1 for the Caldari. It's hard to say whether or not they've got too many of those jumps left in them, but it's pretty worth saying that about, probably another month and a half or so, month or so, if nothing else changes, we will certainly be entering into phase 2. I suspect, though, based on a lot of other things, that there are more twists in store. Yeah, as of right now, the MR are on pace to be last place. The Gallente have to get a fleet of 5 to fight 1 Navy destroyer? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry if I have friends. Also, do you understand how much the squids blob? The squids blob so much that they've made names of their corpse be memes of that fact. And whatever, I don't care. Yeah. The site. Oh yeah, the sites themselves have been brutal. All right. Let us. What's it? Caldari militia mem. We call the Caldari militia squids. because calamari. Also, the Capsuleer Regiment within the Caldari Navy is the 82nd Octopus Regiment. Are the sites good PvP? Yeah. Like I said, you can fight in the plexus, or you can fight in the sites, but you can also catch people on the gates outside of the sites while they're suspect. It's pretty good. Well, like I said, there's definitely been just people like No Forks has been in the Amar space area, just killing everybody who they can get their hands on. They've actually got a pretty disgustingly bad, like, scary team. And they're not alone anymore, I don't think. Yeah, no, it's bloody out there. So do I now have alerts up or something? What is going on? I guess I don't. Hey! I did update all my alerts now, so my alerts will now be like cool and not the zombie. Should be. Speaking of alerts, make sure to like the stream and subscribe if you haven't. Consider becoming a member, etc., etc. Buy a shirt like this one. Yes, so it looks like there will be data sites and mining sites in Pochfin focused predominantly on the Velisclade territory. The data sites will have the construction parts, and the mining sites will have a new kind of Rakavine, which comes with all of the normal stuff that Rakavine has, including a new material. And then the parts that need to be built take all of the materials from Rakavine, plus a little bit of PI Moongoo stuff and organic mortar compounds to build the component. Oh, ads will run shortly for some viewers. Cool. Oh, yeah. The thing that says, okay, good. It reminds me now. What size will the sites be? I don't know for sure. I'm going to just hit the add button to make it happen now and not wait for the timer, right? Can I do that? Yay. All right. So, on the 24th, there was a new Eden news that came out. So we're going to do I was going to do a reading of this, but it's fairly short, and it really is just kind of catching up, and there's a scope video to do, too. So I figured I'd just do the reading of it here. What graph is it that I've been showing? It is from the Electus Matari website. I think Deebs did it. I know I got it from Deebs. If there's someone better I need to credit, then I should. Please let me know. Because this is incredible. Anyway, okay. Let us begin. DD and Edencom security briefing highlights concerns over Empire's Shadow War violence. Ulai Genesis. DED and Edencom leadership highlighted serious concerns over the rising violence associated with the so-called Shadow War between the core empires in a rare public briefing before the New Eden Cluster's Security Committee CSC of the Concord Inner Circle today. In particular, DED Star Marshal I can never pronounce their name. Eladal noted the significant increase in Capsuleer combat in high security space due to the conflicts between suspect flagged vessels at Empire research facilities. Provost Marshal Kasia Valkanir also reported on increased mercenary and pirate activity associated with raids on research facilities, additionally noting that Edencom was tracking significant flows of illicit data, ISK, and advanced materials smuggled to locations spread across the outer regions of New Eden. The DED Star Marshal Elendal and Edencom's Provost Marshal Kasia Valkanir were addressing the New Eden CEC following their request from the Society of Conscious Thoughts Elders mentor Matashi Reich. The New Eden CEC is an evolution of the Inner Circle's War Council set up during the Triglavian invasions, and includes appointees from all 5 member states of the Inner Circle, together with the leadership of Concord's military, intelligence, and security branches. The CSC briefing also heard a report from Colonel Ovig Dursk, commander of the notorious Red Troop anti-war clone unit of Sorrow, Concord Special Affairs for Regulation and Order Division. Colonel Durst outlined recent activities in Placid region, particularly in the militia war zone, and detailed the elimination of, quote, terrorist front organizations of Triglavian-affiliated war clone cells, end quote, together with a brief mention of operations in conjunction with DeRail, the Department for Enforcement of Restrictions on Artificial Intelligence and Life. The New Eden Cluster Security Committee entered a closed session to hear further particulars on increased Triglavian activities, renegade war clone cells, special operations associated with the Concord mandate to eliminate rogue AIs. So I think that this is an interesting one, because this is kind of the piece that's been underlying all of this, right? Where with all of the shadow war, or with all of the spying row and everything that led to the Shadow War, there was a lack of confidence in Edencom and in Concord, and it seems very clear that the Caldari are attempting to hide things from everyone, with the bioadaptive Caldari soldier and the whatnot. Now, what also is being hidden in Yagalis, and what has been going on there is also, very spooky. We've been going over this with the previous New Eden News stuff. This only kind of tangentially touches on it, but as I was saying last time, it's like, I find it really interesting that in this time that everybody's focusing on this one thing, like Edencom is like, or Concord is like, hey guys, there's all of this smuggling and other like kind of standardish pirate activity, these renegade, and in this case, renegade warclone cells, and they're being largely ignored because of this like environment of distrust. Gallente Federation Senate ratifies non-intervention treaty with Amar Empire. Valor Essence. The Federation Senate has ratified a non-intervention treaty with the Amar Empire following the recommendation of President Celis Agard, the Federal Security Council, and the Senate Subcommittee on the Amar-Gallente relations. The Treaty of Pashani was negotiated between the Empire and Federation following a Caldari Mimitar moves for a non-aggression pact and formalized the ceasefire between the Amar and Gallente forces in the militia war zones. The ratification passed comfortably despite some opposition of the so-called Belleron faction of senators strongly opposed to the President Agard's military and diplomatic policies. The Treaty of Pashani has already been formally received by the Imperial Privy Council and ordered by Empress Katniss I to be promulgated as an element of Amar scripture by the Theology Council. The entering of the non-intervention treaty with the Amar scriptures will formalize it as part of the body of law of the Empire, meaning that the Treaty of Pashani is now fully effective. With the Treaty of Arakan between the Caldari and Mimitaran force, the Treaty of Pashani brings to a complete end the previous system of military allegiances that created 2 power blocks within the Concord empires. Okay, so a couple things to say here. First of all, I feel like CCP has gotten a lot better at the idea of the slow burn, right? There's a lot of these news that are laboring on the methodical processes of what is happening, right? So in this case with the treaty, we had the 2 different treaties start to be discussed. There was meetings to be had. Those meetings had proposals. Those proposals had people, delegates go to officiate. Those delegates returned back home. Those proposals were ratified. The signed proposals were ratified. Now they're being presented. First on the Caldari, or first on the Mimitar Amar, or Gallente side, or Amar. First on the Mimitar Caldari side, now on the Amar Gallente side. Just like with Intaki, right? They made Intaki go up rank by rank. They didn't just make it 0.6, they made it 0.2, then 0.3. Right now, we have what's going on in Yntaki. We have the senators. You know, there was the protests. Then there were the senators sent. And then the senators inspected this place. And then the senators inspected that place. And now the senators are moving to go give, to speak with certain leaders, right? There's kind of this sense that we are walking a path. We know that we're working towards something, even though we don't know what the results are going to be. It also sets up some very critical things, right? Namely, the splits that are growing within the factions, the various cracks that are beginning to grow within the great empires, right? So we've already known from a little bit ago that there is kind of this rift growing within the Amar Empire between those loyal to Katniss I and, say, Ardashepur and Sorum, for example. It hasn't come to any kind of head yet, but there are clearly rifts starting to grow. Likewise, obviously the Caldari have been split into their new 3 factions: the Mountain faction, the Ocean faction, and the Forest faction. The Mimitar now have what's her name? What's their name? Midullar. Midullar, the new the Midullar spokesman, speaking out directly against the policies of the Shakarite government, right? So you have, a division growing within the leadership of the Mimitar. Now, the Gallente have always had kind of the weakest internal confusion because, like, it's hard to divide the Gallente up in the same way. Like, we don't have mega corporations. The corporations aren't really the same way. We have districts, but, like, nobody gives a crap about districts. But here we see that since Celis Agard especially, and even before Celis Agard's inauguration, we have been growing a new split within the Gallente Federation. And it is rallied around this man, Suvio Belleron, who has been jaded and slighted and whatever. He's a political advantageous kind of slime ball, willing to use the pain of others in order to forward his own political agendas. But while at the same time, his political agendas end up being things like ending capital punishment and saying that maybe an imperial takeover of Gallente or Yntaki is not great. But at the same time, like, he doesn't even speak for all the Yntaki people. Like, even other Yntaki often disagree with him. But as this has gone on, and as this event with Yntaki have come to a head, Belleron has become really much the face of the resistance to Celis Agard. So I find it really interesting that as we're moving forward and we're getting into the swing of these faction campaigns and how they can change the world, we are starting to build internal rifts within the empires, rifts that perhaps our successes and failures might exploit or affect. I'll get to the pirate pack in a little bit. Any tinfoil on what happens after the shipcasters get sorted? Another event for something? Well, I mean, I think that the next faction... Well, first of all, I think that the shipcaster event will last likely until up through the next expansion, right? We will finish the shipcaster event, and then we'll see the ramifications of the shipcaster stuff play out, and then we'll get the expansion, right? Just like in the previous faction campaign. We did the faction campaign, and then we saw the ramifications of the faction campaign with Turner and all that sort of stuff. And then as soon as we were done reeling from that, boom, Uprising. We know that the expansion's coming in June, probably mid to late June, which is on track to be roughly when a lot of these things should be completed up by then. So there you go. Happy to see you too, Vlad. Oh yeah, don't forget the whole like Svarog going and invading too. We aren't touching on that yet. All right, so in other news, 24th Imperial Crusade offensive in Ugidi continues as Vimini falls with pressure on Evanod. Faction warfare stuff. Caldari Navy stations in Syndicate region fully operational despite Guristas raid. Yeah, so all of the new Caldari Navy stations within Syndicate is now fully up and running, along with services, I believe. Same as the headquarters stations. Senate delegation to Intaki returns to Valor to prepare a report on situation on Intaki Prime. See? The process is continuing, so now we're waiting on a report, right? Lidai Mega Corporation signs new trade deal with Kana Kingdom to supply military equipment. Again, we see this cooperation with Lidai and Kanad. I wonder what's going to happen there. I honestly don't know. Federation Navy anchorage in Intaki systems open facilities and military traffic increases. That's the HQ. Republic fleet completes rotation of floats from 4 garrisons and resupply of planetary fortifications. Quaif Corporation announces sponsorship of new Alohn Gardner Grab Ball Invitational Tour. Not sure if this is going to be relevant in the long run. There is some sus when it comes to Quaif, but Quaif is very much an opportunist when it comes to making headway between groups. And the Quaif already has a history of being the intermediary between the Alohn and Gallente, as it turns out. So, Sekal Clan raiders repulsed by Harosorum forces after last-ditch attack on Vimini 2 Mineworks. So this is happening because... Sekal Clan is a Mimitar pirate faction potentially associated with the Deathless and the Thucker. And as you can see here, with Vimini falls to the 24th Imperial Crusade, that means that this system went from Mimitar to Amar, hence the fact that the Amar move in and show up and shoo off the Mimitar pirates. Mass demonstrations in Lenoika and Navi Akat in Intaki Prime largely peaceful, according to planetary gender arms. Triglavian clades apparently regrouping following spike of high activity and intense fighting. Taki Autonomous demands elections to assembly be held without delay after Executive Council proposes rescheduling. Barokior shamans arrive on New Caldari Prime for unprecedented visit to Landfall's shrine in invitation of Akimaka Saraki. Retirement home for space adapted federal workers founded in orbit of Luminaire 8 Ortange. Kanad slaver ship mounting 4 guns captured on surface of Weratox 2 by Solitude Regional Gender Arms. So once again, a Kanad slaver ship being captured in Solitude. That's kind of weird. Sengdo overlords of the Prosperity Drive faction issue new series of bonded digital stamps to recoup Civil War losses. And Mindalir announces new tour of Mimitar Republic in protest of Treaty of Pashanai and in solidarity with the Matari people. So again, more controversy. Already a border Solitude. Yeah, okay. So they're probably sneaking over the side. But my point is that with Lidai, with all these different moving pieces, Lidai's working with Kanad, Kanad's operating in Solitude. It just seems sus, is all I'm saying. All right. So that is the New Eden news for March. Yeah, March 24th, YC 125. If this is, if you're watching this on as a recording, hi, thanks for watching, likes, comments, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. We are going to be moving directly onto the scope video, but for all of you, I will see you next time in space. There's people credited down below. Whatever, I'm bad at this. Scope! The new scope. Let's watch the new scope.
Fractures in Empire alliances are...
Is that the Sonny Sobek rock star? Is that who that is? Hold up. Okay. Okay. I thought I recognized her name. Oh my god. Man, they are really, really pulling out, like, all of the lore that they set up even back in 2010. Because, like, if you think about it, the whole Belleron and Celis Agard thing started out in 2010 too. Wow. And yeah, they brought her back in 2015. Wait, hold on. Nope, that's the same one. Never mind. Ignore that one. Where was it? There was another one. There it is. In 2020. In 2020, Mindelair's The Red album sells millions of copies over festival period. Critics hail new songs as a new peak for Sonic Sabic genre. Oh my god. Yeah, YC110 is 2008. That's true. That's correct. Did I say 2010? I'm sorry. You're right. Can I get a brief summary of what we've missed? I just covered basically an update as to the Shadow War and kind of what we've learned so far, and then I covered the New Eden news from the 24th. I strongly suspect that the pirate stuff is going to be more this summer, or like the fall. As I've predicted before, I think that the spring expansion is giving stellar transmuters to nullsec in order to allow them to modify their space. And the winter expansion is when Tashmurkon invades Stain. Okay. Yeah. No, Mindelair is awesome. I am happy to see her back. And I do look forward to her continued tour and hope that they eventually come out with her actual music. No. Okay. Hold on. Okay. Ready? Just for those of you who are interested and like your tinfoil, here we go. Can I even do it? It's not here. That's fine. All right, let us begin. I think I have it on a notepad. Let's find out. Yay! Okay, so here are the mercenaries that you fight for, or during the event, right? Here they all are. You can see their attributes and everything like that. It's cool, right? Awesome. What we see is we have a crow, a cheetah, a raptor, a hyena, a wolf, a manticore, draugr, rapier, ichthyrsa, tornado, and panther. What do those all have in common? They are either Mimitar, Caldari, or the Triglavian T2 ships built by the Mimitar or the Caldari, right? Because the draugr, for those of you who may not know, oh my god, I need a real draugr. The draugr is created by the Thucker. There's a Mimitar logo on here too. There it is. So the draugr's Mimitar, and the ichthyrsa is built for the Caldari by the Caldari Navy. Okay? Technical Viking. I have actually done that. Look, I'm not great at this, okay? We're getting there. So yeah. So we have all these different mercenaries. And yes, all of the T2 ships are from the Empires. All of the T2 trig ships are from the Empires. And then the description of these things say, this hostile vessel is not broadcasting an IFF signal. Has it been hired by one of the four empires to operate with plausible deniability? Does it represent a third party with interests in the shipcaster technology? Its organizational affiliation and reasons for involving itself are in the conflict is unclear. So this is an interesting thing to note. The rats that you are fighting in these sites are not those empires. The sites themselves are already under attack by mercenaries. It's a waylaid courier. It's a besieged laboratory, right? So you have to kill the invaders and then just take it for yourself, right? So the question is, who are these mercenaries? The second thing is, when they added these mercenaries, they actually added in 3 times as many rats. they added in an entire set of angel rats and Guristas rats. But when they first added them all in, they were all default, right? They looked like this. They all looked like a slasher. They had generic stats, etc. And then at the last second, they got transformed into having the correct ID and the correct stats. But the description was always correct. So let's look at the Angel Cartel's description, the Angel Rifter. This hostile Angel Cartel vessel appears to be tasked with obtaining classified shipcaster-related research and will not hesitate to attack any capsuleers that get in its way. Wait, angels are going after the shipcaster technology? The Guristas, the Kestrel. This hostile Guristas vessel appears to be tasked with obtaining classified shipcaster-related research and will not hesitate to attack capsuleers that get in its way. So the Guristas are also trying to get shipcaster-related technology. But wait, they never made these rats work. They aren't in the game. They haven't updated, and they're still defaulted, unlike the mercenaries. So what are they doing with these? Were these scrapped? Are they tests? What happened? Here's furthermore, these guys are Guristas and angels, or Guristas and these guys are Caldari and Mimitar. This is angels and Guristas. Could this possibly be that the angels and the Guristas are working together as the mercenaries? Well, let's look into this a little bit more. Let's see, EveRef. If we go to evref.net, oops. If we go to evref.net and we look up smuggler, we'll see the smuggler Draugr. The smuggler Draugr was part of the Cops versus Robbers event during FanFest, right? And its description was, this ship is defending the assets of a major underworld smuggling ring and will fire on any trespassers, right? We can also see smuggler. We can see that there's a Basilisk, a Cerberus, a Draugr, Hyena, Ichthyrsa, Manticore, Rapier, Raptor. And then we can look at, like, the ringleader is either a rattlesnake or it's a widow, rather, I think. I think it was supposed to be a widow. Or a yeah, a widow or a panther. So what exactly does that mean? Well, if you can see, these ships are the same exact profile, right? Caldari and Mimitar with T2 components. But or with the T2 trig ships of the same kind. So what happened during that event? What happened with these smugglers? Did we ever figure out who these smugglers were? Turns out we did. Give me 1 second.
Capsuleers attending a session of the Interstellar Anti-Smuggling and Counter-Piracy Conference at the Jita 4 TAC 4 Trade Hub were surprised when a Concord presentation on rising smuggler activity was apparently hijacked by the very same smugglers.
Platitudes, blandishments, lies. You of all people know that Concord and the Empires have no interests in common with you. They have done nothing for you. They shall do nothing for you. How long will you listen to their empty words? In recent days, as is their pitiful habit, Concord has made use of you to advance their own agenda. These free trade outposts you have so willingly cleared of my associates have been taken over by Concord's worst, the Cerro. Perhaps you don't believe me? Check for yourself. I have broadcast the new signatures of those sites to all. Why should you not destroy the Sorrow bully boys? They have always sought to control you. Do their bidding no more. Open your eyes. Seize your destiny. And, if you would, join me, the Deathless.
Embarrassed by this intrusion, Concord officials have refused to comment on SARO activity at occupied smuggler outposts, other than to state that measures are simply being carried out to ensure the complete eradication of illegal smuggling activities. Any recent improvements in the strained diplomatic relationship between the Gallente Federation and the Caldari state have been overshadowed by claims that a Gallente diplomat was involved in a massive spy ring operating within the Caldari state. The Caldari state's chairman, Akimaka Saraki, delivered a fiery speech in a live broadcast from the Caldari Chief Executive Panel yesterday. The scheduled speech was reportedly originally aimed at promoting interstellar diplomacy due to the ongoing JITA 4 TAC 4 summit. However, with state corporations and citizens expressing outrage over the new allegations, the delivered speech leaned heavily into patriotic rhetoric and evoked previous hostilities with the Gallente state.
We remain Caldari, no matter the cost.
No direct response or comments have been made by the Gallente Federation so far, but Federation Navy and Customs forces have been placed on heightened alert status. This is Alton Havery, reporting for The Scope.
Okay, so basically during this event, the event changed after a few days, and we then were able to work for the mysterious smugglers. So these smugglers were shown up, we didn't know who they were, and then this guy, the Deathless, shows up and tells us that they work for him, and that we can now do stuff for him. And in this event, we could actually side with him and go and kill the Sorrow sites instead. It was actually pretty cool. That was last FanFest. So let's put all this together a little bit and say that the Deathless, who is still, around, and I've done many videos on Deathless and conspiracy theories about him, so I'm not going to go into too many of the details right now. There are plenty of other videos for you to go back and look at if you want to, but suffice it to say, he's around, he's been in the shadows for quite a bit, and he continues to operate as kind of trying to bring together these different smugglers and ne'er-do-wells, in particular within the Mimitar and the Caldari, but he does still have connections in the underworld of the Gallente, including his connections to the Ostakon agency, which is the current operators, or at least we believe to be the operators of the agency, which is how he was able to hack into that system and broadcast those things out. He's still at large, and so the fact that there is this new, these mercenaries that have the exact same ship profile that are working under that seem to have been hired when the Deathless is one of the most popular current mercenary contract brokers in New Eden, seems like it's not a big stretch to suggest that it's the Deathless that is involved here. So is the Deathless on the side of the Garistas and the Serpentis? I mean, the Garistas and the Angels? Hang tight on that. So, as it mentions, this guy here is named Leopold Envelari, okay? Leopold Envelari is also known as the Peacock. The Peacock was the point of contact by Esri Hokazutsu, the Garista spy operating within JITA 4-4. This was her contact to the nest, as it were. In other words, he was hired by Fatal to function as the intermediary or the point of contact for the Garista's underdog, or deep agent, to report back to Garista's high command through him or with him. So, however, turns out he secretly probably worked for the Deathless, and she mentions that he that this Peacock fella once did an operation against the FIO. Well, there was a famous operation. There was a famous FIO dossier that was fell into the hands of the Deathless back in 2018, after it was handed over to the Federation Senate, which is where Leopold Envelari, the Peacock, works. So there's every reason to believe that Leopold Envelari has been working for the Deathless for quite some time as a operative, and particularly a political operative for the Deathless as a member of the Federal Senate. So the question is, what happened to Leopold Envelari after this happened? Surely, since this happened last Easter, almost a year ago now, something has happened. Well, Leopold Envelari, after this event, ran away and ended up in Molten Heath. Molten Heath inside of a Thucker facility, which seemed to make sense, right? If Leopold and Velari is working secretly for the Deathless, and the Deathless does the underground operations between, especially with Caldari and Mimitar, especially the Thucker ne'er-do-well groups, then of course that would be the place that he would seek refuge. Cool. Everything made sense. Everything made sense until Marcus here noticed that that Leopold and Velari was in Valor like 2 months ago. Which is really weird. It's really weird. It is, at first we thought it was a bug. In fact, I have a whole video called Where in the World is Leopold and Velari, or whatever. It's whatever. Now, here's the kicker. The next time we talked about him, in fact, I think even in that video, he is in Inur, right? Inur. Well, that's a super random place. Why would he be in Inur? Well, if we go to the New Eden News, if we close this, and then we go just to the New Eden News, and we look at the previous one, there's been a lot of political movements among the pirate groups. In fact, I really want to kind of try to outline all of the different political changes that have been happening in the last couple of years, but I haven't gotten around to doing it all yet. But what we do have is reports claim Angel Cartel and Krulufer Organization peace treaty on Inur as demands rises for contraband through Molten Heath. So the Angel Cartel and the Krulufer Organization, which is another of the ne'er-do-well groups, the Krulufer is associated with Deathless, has a peace treaty on Inur, which is exactly where the where Leopold and Velari was when this was happening. So it would appear as if Leopold and Velari was helping broker this trade deal on behalf of the Angel Cartel, the Krulufer Organization, and the Deathless. Which brings me to the question. What was Leopold and Velari doing in Valor just prior to this? Here's some tinfoil. So the obvious answer is that the twist in this whole story is going to introduce, is going to show the Deathless's power, and perhaps even introduce the Deathless's faction and the new pirate ship line that's Caldari Mimitar that I've been predicting for some time. That could happen. It is clear that there is a twist coming. The mercenaries are already the Deathless. We see the Angels and Guristas potentially being added. Plus, the Angels and the Guristas have both been told to us by CCP as being busy with other affairs, which is why the Easter event and the Valentine's Day event got canceled. So, the question that I have is, are the mercenaries that we are blowing up secretly working for the Gallente? The Gallente are really good at shady operations. And by that, I mean they love it. And by that, I mean they're really bad at doing actual clandestine operations, even though they really like doing it. So it is not impossible that a secret underground agreement has been made between the Gallente Federation or agents therein and the Angels, Guristas, and the Deathless. There's other allegiances that have been happening too. There's different agreements between the Serpentis, and there's so many different pirate realignments or whatever. We are set up for a big reveal, and I can't quite predict what the details of that's going to be yet. But yeah, and the Gallente are notably far behind the shipcaster progress. So it could very well be revealed that like the Gallente get a bunch of free progress or something like that because that's what the mercenaries provided or whatever. But then now the Gallente have been exposed as working with these dudes and so on and so forth and how this thing works. My point is that these faction campaigns are not static events. do not think that we're just going to sit here and grind the same events for the next, or the same sites for the next, month and a half. I would be very surprised. Be prepared for there to be ramifications for the progress of the events prior to the event's completion. Obviously, there's going to be ramifications afterwards. Not only will the shipcasters exist, but like with the previous event, we had the invasion of Intaki. We had the taking of, that one place, the Syndicate. We have the people from Turner. We have all these different things that happen as a consequence to that. So we'll have to see what the consequences, the political moves happen when it comes to how this plays out. We also still need to follow up with the people from Turner. We still need to follow up with Syndicate. There's so many pieces in play right now, guys. Oh my God. Oh my God. And as soon as I know more about it, we will be talking about it right here. So make sure to sub to the channel and support it if you can. Ha! I brought it home. Anywho, so happy now that I completed the event 3 days ago. There you go. So, the Angel and Garissus ships might also be for Capsuleer Day. Could be, but remember, they're looking for shipcaster technology. It specifically says that. Also, it's worth noting, like, the other question is, as I've said this many times before, so the Deathless is looking for the tech. The Garissus and the Angels might be looking for the tech. Here's my question. We know what the Empires are trying to do with this tech. What are those pirate groups going to do with that tech? How are they going to modify transmuter tech, transport tech to do different things? How is that transmuter tech going to get modified to be put into the hands of nullsec groups in order to sculpt their systems? These are the details that we don't know yet. But, the pieces are laid out. Also, I don't know if you guys watched the really good interview between CSP Rutati and Oz. CSP Rutati suggested that the changes that are coming are involving terraforming, which continues to reinforce this idea that, sculpting your territory in nullsec, the potential use of these transmuters in order to modify the nature of the space-time itself in order to gain different bonuses, etc., etc. CSP Aurora said something about pirate enlistment. Yes. We've talked about this too, where basically, we might be able to enlist with Garissus or Angels. We might be able to enlist. What I want to see is that the Deathless becomes the 5th rogue faction that is in faction warfare, right? Like, I can't wait to see what they do with the Deathless faction, because, like, they've made this faction not necessarily out of nowhere, because obviously it's been built up for quite some time, but, like, they could do whatever they want with it. They could take like with the Triglavians. The Triglavians stole their territory that they now have. What's going to happen when the Deathless makes their move? Hard to say, but it'll probably become a catalyst event for the shooter. I can tell you that right now. Deathless. So one of my biggest theories is that the Deathless is actually the Fiend, Anakori. Which would make him hate Sorrow more than anybody else. Potentially hate the Serpentis too, but I think that he's also, like, it sounds to me like the Deathless and the Serpentis have started to come to peace with each other. You mentioned that Sancho was meddling with the Triglavians. Do you think that the Amar would help the shipcaster tech from the Triglavians for helping deal with Sancho in Triglav space? It's a stretch. No, the Triglavians are actively hunting down the Sancho. There was some tinfoil that we were talking about last time about the possibility that, like, there is some hints that there's been some trade or agreements or cooperation between the Svarog Clade and Amarian houses. So yeah, there is that. There's more though. So in other news, do you think the Deathless would eventually get their own spaceship line? I think it's basically set up that the Deathless is going to be the Caldari Mimitar ship line. Well, the entirety of Phase 2 takes place in Pochvin. Where would Deathless Space be? I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah, I've been saying that for a long time. All right, so we have a monthly economic report, but we also have this pack. I wanted to talk a little bit about this sales pack. Hey! Sean with a $20 super chat. He's back in the saddle again. Did it even work? Did my alert work? Why didn't my alert work? Maybe it's not coming yet. Oh, I bet it's going to come. We'll see. There is a new pack for sale, the Dread Pirates pack. So somebody was asking about this earlier, about why they're doing this. It's real simple. No? No alert? There it is!
He's back in the saddle again.
Good. Okay. Whew. It's working. All right. So why are they doing this? Well, they normally do a sale in conjunction with an event, right? Like the Valentine's Day event has a sale with skins. The Easter event has a sale with skins, right? We're not getting the Easter event, but to those heathens among you, I may need to let you know that Easter was like 2 days ago, as of this recording. So they're not doing the Easter event, but they're doing the Easter event's sale, if that makes sense. So let's break this down, because I looked at it and it is really, really cool. So what you get is 275,000 skill points, a special cerebral accelerator, and wait. Hold on. Let me double check I understand what's going on here. Oh, okay. So no, they are slightly... Okay, so these are slightly different. These are slightly different. Let's pay attention to this, okay? Is it this upcoming weekend? No way. I'm sorry. I'm dumb. Yeah, that's right. Shut up! I remember... Sorry, my bad. All of the news with the Pope going on, and it was Palm Sunday. I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb. You're right. Oh, whatever. I'm just gonna sit in my... You know what? As a bad Catholic, I'll sit in my guilt. At any rate, so so the pack that you can buy in real world for real world money, and the pack you can buy in game are slightly different, but they are kind of the same. So here we have 1,000 Plex, which is roughly $40 worth of Plex, plus 275,000 skill points, plus all these different skins. Okay, so the question then is, who's the heathen? I know, right? If we look on the in-game one, the in-game deal is 1736 Plex for the 2,700 skill points, the skins, and the clothes. Okay, so what skins do you get? Well, really, you're just getting the Garistus Hex bundle and the Helmet Harriers bundle. So that's easy to calculate. 423 and 801 is 1,200 Plex. So you're getting 2,200 Plex for $50, plus the 250,000 skill points and all the other stuff. So if you just look at just the Plex and the skins, you're already well over the $51. So that's the real world no problem. I appreciate it, Price. That's the real world version of it. Excellent. Calm 07. Let us know if you need any help with anything. So yeah, that's the real world version of it. That's the real money version of it. For this, once again, you're getting you're getting that 1,200 plex worth of stuff, but you're also getting 3 months of Omega, right? 3 months of Omega is 1,500 plex. So already you're now getting almost 3,000 plex worth of value for 1,700 plex without considering the skill points and the outfits. So there you go. That's what I think about this deal. If the skins are at all interesting to you, or if you are in a place to pick them up, it is a very good deal for cash or for plex, period. And I'm actually I'm willing to support any of these sorts of deals that has an in-game component, right? I can buy it as part of a plex pack, or I can buy it with plex. Totally great with that. Love it. Love to see it. All right. That's enough shilling for them. If you want to give me the money instead, buy my merch. All right. All right. What else do we want to cover today? There's a lot. There's been a lot. Let me make sure I haven't missed anything. Have I missed anything? Somebody let me know. Oh, economic report. Yeah. Oh, also, patch notes. But today's patch notes is a big deal. I need to talk about the patch notes. This is huge deal, guys. Huge deal. I'm big fan. Big fan. Our patch notes. Ready, guys? Adjusted the respawn time of Shadow War events in all areas of space. Respawn times will now be slightly faster than before in high-sec space and significantly faster than before in low-sec space. More sites. That's probably why I saw so many data sites this morning when we were looking through them. And added Corporation Alliance emblems for the Buster to Paragon Loyalty Points store. We did it! We did it. And you know what? The very first thing I did was log in today with my industry alt, or with Mortis, and ran over and grabbed this Alliance emblem. And then remove duplicate kill marks appearing on worms either with the Vampire Hex or Helmet, Hammer, whatever. Who cares? So yeah, basically, Shadow War event sites now spawn faster, which means there'll be more cores being produced. And also, the Buster now has a logo. Yay! We did it, fam. All right. I'm going to do an ad, and then we'll cover the monthly economic report. I should have prepared this one. Hold on. There's a tag. Come on, hashtag. Give me. So that's March, February. Oh yeah, January never got a fucking tag. Whatever. Who cares? We'll work with this. Okay. New Eden friendships can be forged and utilized in the best of ways, but all require your credit card deals, round the clock attention, and complete surrender of participation in reality. Join us. That's pretty spooky. Missed a solid chunk of the stream. Have we already talked about the Eve blockchain game? I have not talked about the Eve blockchain game. We talked about that last time. Do I have anything more to talk about with when it comes to the Eve blockchain game? I think we just need to have more information, and I think that anybody thinking that it's bad for CCP to do this is kind of silly. I'm really glad that CCP Rutati pointed out that, like, this wasn't like, oh my god, you should have used your this money on Eve. That was never an option. This was not Eve money that went to a different thing. This is a different thing's money that is now going to CCP. That's the biggest thing to pay attention to. I think that the TLDR is that outside of the chances of some sort of like big huge thing causing a collapse of the entire company because of some sort of crazy fraud or I don't even know, like nightmare scenario, like it can only be good for CCP, for EVE Online, right? Like even if the project itself fails, they're going to hire new talent. There'll be cross-pollination. They will have, you know, they're still bringing in money that pays for operations. It's not their money, you know. I mean, they're taking Crypto Bros investments, so whatever. Static set of wormhole space. It could be that too. I think that the Deathless is going to try to carve out a section of Syndicate. And the war zone and all that stuff for them himself. But also, the Deathless isn't about having territory. It's about smuggling, right? They're mobile, by definition. EO under any other company probably would have folded due to poor profits. Actually, the other thing I really appreciate him saying was exactly how, like, EVE Online, like, people... We gnash our teeth or whatever, but like EVE makes a lot of money. A lot of money. Like more than $40 million a year, I believe, is what he was saying. So it's not like, I mean, like another big company bought CCP just to have EVE Online. So it's not like, I don't think that people appreciate exactly like how good EVE Online is actually doing as far as like financially goes. Krezhnik Svarog. No problem, Nico. Thank you guys. And yes, all you guys who have been starting out, the Convocation of Empyreans are here to help you if you want to join our group and help maximize player engagement with EVE Online. And then also, you know, obviously I've got plenty of videos. I've got the training playlist and all that sort of stuff. And if you need any, if there's something I should cover, you know, go ahead and hit me up and let me know. Yeah, wormhole space could potentially make sense. Although I feel like we would get more information about the Deathless using wormholes, and I don't feel like we've gotten any of that. I feel like he might want to build, like, think about it. Why would a bunch of smugglers want to be able to build shipcasters? Let's just fucking think for a second, okay, guys? This doesn't have to be that difficult. From a business standpoint, EVE is considered niche, so it's very notable how successful it actually is. Yeah, it is. It is niche, but yeah, I think that a lot of people don't understand the scale of even relatively successful MMOs. Yeah, exactly. That's what I like to put. That's how I put it last time, Kovanax, which is like there was $40 million wandering around in the crypto space looking for a project, and Hilmar convinced them that he was their guy. That's it. That's what happened. Okay, guys? This was not... If anybody is being scammed here, it's them. Hilmar's the guy who got the money. I don't know. Any hints after all this time what Concord is going to do with all the data collected from the crabs? Hard to say. Same as the Triglavian data, right? Although, like, there is a note, which is that today's patch did put in another piece to this event, to what probably might be the next phase of the event, because the next phase of the event, the rogue drones are the ones defending the sites. So the Villa Autopoiesis Nexus spawner is very interesting, because allopoiesis is a word that shows up quite a bit when it comes to talking about the Triglavians, but this basically means that this is a nest. All right. I know they're not going to be in wormhole space. I mean, it's not impossible. I'm just saying. There's a lot of, like, there's lots of area in the whole, like, Syndicate, Solitude, low-sec area that's up for grabs. All right. Let's jump into the monthly economic report for March. First and foremost, production versus destruction versus mining. We are predominantly looking at this last little bit, because this is January, starts here. So we see February, a spike towards the end of February, early March, and then a fall off in production, relatively stable at its new high after an initial spike in destruction and mining. So life is more or less sprung back, and it looks like it's finding a new home somewhere in the, like, the pre-2020, like, at a pretty good pace, honestly. One thing that's important to note when you are looking at previous numbers, especially with what, like again, going back to the interview with CCP Rattati, is that numbers prior to 2020 were largely inflated. Not just because of botting, but because of multi-boxing and all that kind of stuff. Like, the numbers are restoring back to normal, but you know what I'm not hearing? A bunch of people complaining about massive bot farm. I mean, obviously there is still, like, the accusations of botting in nullsec or whatever, but I'm no longer hearing too many complaints about people that wander nullsec and it's all just botters everywhere, or you know, like, oh, multi-boxing 27 rogues. Like, these are not things that you hear about as much anymore, and yet the numbers are now looking better. So I think that we cleared away a lot of the things that were artificially making the numbers ironically look good at the same time, and now we're working on a more healthy state. But yeah. Next, I hate the summary by region because it's so, well, not hate, but whatever. Either way, let's see. Delve has high destruction, as we know. Pochfin. 9 trillion. Hold on. Destruction. I wish I had. Almost a trillion in destruction. Almost over a third of a trillion in production, mining. So yeah, as the Pochfin stuff, especially as the Pochfin main ISK makers got nerfed, we did see a lot more people turn to the mining stuff, and the mining in Pochfin is quite good, and I know that there are quite a few people that are continuing to do it now. So yeah, that's quite a bit. Mining an asteroid volume mined over time. It's really, I mean, what we're seeing here is effectively just a little bit of stability. We do see a bit of a dip towards the end of the cycle, so second half of March, probably, which I can't remember what that might be corresponding to. I know that there's been a lot of stuff involving the war. Yes, the Pochvin is the 27 systems under Trig control. Asteroid volume, maybe this will tell us something. Asteroid ore mined by region. We've got Lone Trek, Sync Liaison, and the Forge as the top 3, which is actually interesting because that means that none of the top 3 are... Actually, wait, hold on. Holy shit. Lone Trek, Sync Liaison, Forge, Metropolis, Domain, Citadel, Hematar, Sync Liaison, or Tash Mercon are all above Delve. Whereas last month, Delve was number 1. So yeah, that's the dip. That's crazy. So 3.3 billion down to 1.5 billion. Delve's mining was cut in half last month. Do you know what happened? It's real simple. The bees went to war. Like, seriously. People want to talk about, like... If you notice, watch. Look at this mining thing. This confirms it, right? If you look at the mining sheet. Yeah, there's a dip at the top end, but none of it's coming from high sec. None of it's coming from low sec. And none of it's coming from wormhole space. That if there is a fall off there at all, it is 100% null sec. And if you come here, that means this drop, these drops are likely, like, they produced and then they went to war. That's wild. Points at pure blind destruction number. Okay, let's go look at that. Oh boy, 2.8 trillion ISK destroyed. Woo! 1.8 in Delve. That's crazy. The Forge is 1.7 in contrast. So Jita's 1.7. Gas mined. Well, it looks like people have figured out gas mining. A lot of the elevation appears to be like people picking up the low sec stuff, but you know, obviously, it's been basically pretty steady for gas mining over time. Gas mining is actually one of the best ways for an alpha to do mining, but it's also just a really good ISK maker. Gas by region, Veil of the Silent. Whereas before it was Iridia. Veil of the Silent was way down here. Wow. Hold on. We're looking at the right things, right? Yeah. Okay. So, Veil of the Silent went from, let's call it 6 or 7 million to 34 million. What? Iridia went from 30 to 32. Yes. Mining barges couldn't do it yesterday before, but it didn't change yesterday. Like, it didn't change last month. In February, they... Hey, thank you for that. In February, they mined like a third of what they mined this month. This is crazy. That's crazy. Busy pandas. Okay, well, fair enough, I suppose. That's a good point. Oof. Ice mined over time. Again, overall chart is pretty stable. Looks like there might even be a slight uptick in nullsec, if anything. Ice mined by region. We see number 1 is Forge, Metropolis, Eversure, Lone Trek, Domain, Kador, Vale is silent. So Vale is number 1 of all of the null groups, or null stuff. Let's see last time. Ice. Forge, Metropolis, Evershore, Vale is silent. So Vale is silent dropped in ice and went up in gas. I can't check Ishtar body. That's not a stat I can look up. Moonor is trending up. Looks like mostly coming from HiSec as more and more people drop moons, and as the population, I think that the population is seeing a lot of turnover. There's a lot of newer players that are coming in, and those are forming HiSec groups and going and mining in HiSec. Domain Vale is silent. Vale is silent is number 2 from Moon. That's actually interesting too. Let's go check. Whoa. So last time it went from Delve at 3.5 and Vale is silent at 2.75. And now we have Vale is 3.2, so it's up, and Delve has collapsed down to 1.6. So once again, mining in Delve has been cut in half this year, or this month. In Delve, by goons. And let's see. Import exports. Leading up, we have Pureblind with the most imports. Although, wait, hold on. That's the system you told me to look earlier, right? Yeah, Pureblind. Okay, good. Yeah. So these imports are in fact the 8 invading forces, right? So there's that. And also things destroyed are not exported. So yeah. And then Delve, meanwhile, how much does it normally have exported? Man, these numbers look so much different than just last month. Holy shit. That's funny. Hold on. Did I miss it? Where is it? Detroit, Divoolej. Seriously. Oh, Delve. There it is. So 59 trillion exported, 64 trillion imported. But now it's 95 exported, 133 imported. So an extra 40 billion exported and quite a bit imported. Holy shit, like 60 billion, like double the importing. So rather than mining, they're just bringing everything in. The Citadel, which is usually pretty close to one of the extremes, is pretty close to the midpoint. Oh no, sorry, the Forge. There it is. Paragon Falls, Tribute, Forge. Pochvin has seen 38 trillion exports, 29 trillion, or sorry, 38 trillion imports, 29 trillion exports. I think that I think we've already seen the numbers that are the ones that are the most interesting, but I mean, look at this Lone Trek number. Is that normal? Yes, it is normal. It's just, the thing is that normally they stack, like these extremes get stacked at the top or the bottom, but with everything happening, the extremes are less extreme right now, so they're kind of more filtered into the middle, because they're listed in order of you know, import to export. So isks and faucets. Commodities are at 49 trillion. So up a little bit. Probably because the Shadow War has brought commodity trading again. Let me make this a little bit wider just for ease for me. Bounty prizes went from 30 trillion to 31.7 trillion. So ratting is not going down. ESS bank auto payment is that yeah, that's 15. Yeah. 15 trillion when it was 15.1. So ESS auto bank payment has gone up by 0.4. So that corresponds with the ratting gain of 2 trillion. So that means that it's a lot of the new ratting is done in nullsec. Ooh, who would have guessed? Sancha incursions went from 11. No, sorry. Yeah, it went from 11 to 11.4. Triglavian invasions went from 6.5 to 7.1. So everything's kind of being done a little bit more. Agent missions went from 3.2 to 3.5. Pirate fobs went from 1.5 to 1.8. Which I know that there's been reports of increased pirate fobs, but you would think if there was in fact increased pirate fobs, that number would be a lot more increased. But maybe that much of an increase just represents a noticeable amount of new fobs. Project Discovery rewards went from even Project Discovery's up a little bit, about 10%. And redeemed ISK token, 130. I don't remember exactly what one that is. Cool. And then as far as transaction tax, let's see what those look like. It went from 30 to 32, 31. Yeah, it looks in general like everything's up by about 2 to 10%, depending on what it is. Here's the chart. We can see, like, remember there's a commodities. Hold on. We're going to look at the commodity page first. Yeah. So commodities are doing good, even though the actual commodities, if you look, almost every single one of the commodities are actually down for the end of March, but yet the commodities themselves are about stable. So I think that that's because of how much of the commodities being turned in from the event, right? Probably, possibly. We'll see. Overall, I mean, everything looks kind of normal. What I find odd here is that this shows that it's a dip down, even though it's a dip. Oh, I see. So even though it is currently going down, the month itself has been up, thereby the average has been up. Which is why, or like the total rather, is up, which is why we see the numbers that we do. We also do see this uptick in LP store payments. This is more people in faction warfare. You got a few new members trying to find them ways to get engaged and interested. I've heard that my videos can be good for that. Honestly, the biggest answer is to just make a goal. Have a series of goals. Make a couple of mid-level goals that are achievable but take some work. And pick at least one goal that's basically impossible. Yeah, pirate fobs are strongholds that appear throughout space that have to be killed by players. Service fee breakdowns, blah, blah, blah. Not that interesting. As we can see here, though, the money supply, everything is just looking like it's a nice, healthy continue upwards. That's cool. Velocity has taken a nosedive along with everything else. Again, likely the war, right? We see this spike because everybody's preparing. But once the war starts, you start working with what you got. So there's a lot less ISK being traded around in the middle of the war than as we prepare for one. And then there'll be recovery from the war. Economic indexes. The mineral price index remains high. The secondary... Actually, everything continues to go up. Yeah, now is a great time to be a miner. Consumer price index. So I think we established that blue means up, red means down last time. So it looks like it's just kind of the same thing as before. We see a continued slight rise in Tech 2 ships, as well as Tech 1 ships and modules even. Everybody just needs more ships and accessories, whatever the accessories are. I don't know if we ever figured out what accessories were. This one is continuing to go real high. And as we can see here, a lot of that real high is actually from the low-end minerals, not the high-end minerals. So high-end minerals have been going up again because they had a bad time of it for a little while. But that people need the low-end minerals, man. People need the meat and potatoes to make things work. You need titanium. Everybody needs titanium. It's just that simple. Reactions have become incredibly popular. That's that T2 materials, as well as the battleships, R4 reactionables. Remember how we saw that increase in high-sec moon mining? Guess what? All of those high-sec moons go into these reactions, which then go into faction ships and battleships and capital ships. Everything else is kind of a little bit less. With advanced moon materials, again, more moon mining, T2 stuff, advanced moon materials. So this reaction immediately just goes directly into there, right? And secondary price, we see a loss in salvaged materials. This is probably because of how much additional salvaging is being done now that the event has begun. And also new players doing salvaging. And of course the accessories, which I don't know, whatever. ESS figures, I don't care about ESS figures very much. Cool. There's big banks. Get out there, steal money. Largest reserve banks. We can see who's milking the money. $80 billion ISK out of the top two. Oh, shoot, sorry. 80 billion ISK out of the top two. According to regional market screen, accessories as is cosmetics such as augurers, augmentations, eyewears, headwears, and masks. Yeah, but like, what is that is built? So I guess implants? Is implants like the only accessory that we build? I guess that's, well, I suppose this isn't building. This is just trading, right? So, yeah, okay, fair enough. But I mean, primary producer, right? Secondary producer? I'm not sure. Whatever. Abyssal dead space. Here, this is a good one. I like this graph because it helps us see what's going on in Abyss. So, last month, we had this distribution, 23, 32, 31, 17, 17, 1, 7, 2. And we saw 10 trillion in Triglavian data. This month, we see 14 trillion in Triglavian data. So we see a 40% increase in the amount of Abyssal dead space loot that's being pulled out. So I use that number because Triglavian data sheets don't change in price. And so it's a direct lineup of like, this is how much is being pulled out. So 40% has an increase in amount of Triglavian loot being pulled out. And as we can see, the percentage has trended towards 0.8. Right? So 26-28 instead of 23-31. So some people have moved from high, so there's less, this is ratio. So more people are doing it in the 0.8 than in the 0.7 before, but then 16-14, 17-17. So once again, so people have moved a little bit up the bounds, more or less. a little bit. Except they've also moved to the lower bands. So we see nullsec has gone from 6.9% to 10%. So a lot of the nullsec people are now doing Abyss, which also could account for some of the holes that we've been seeing in these numbers, because running the Abyss is, you know, gets you loot like ratting can, or, you know, ISK like ratting can, but doesn't count towards that system's numbers because you're not in the system. But so this seems to suggest to me that these numbers just come from more people running it overall. And possibly more people running the high-end ones in this dangerous area. Breakdown of wormhole loot. Wormholes are spooky and weird, and they make lots of money. We can see here that the vast majority of blue loot have been coming out of class 5 wormholes, whereas before it was exactly the same. Here we see that it is 18.2. Here we see that it is 16.1. So we actually do see a drop, a slight drop, or, you know, a drop in wormhole blue loot being pulled out, especially from C5s. From C6s, it's about the same. Whoops. Uh-oh. March, February. Okay, good. So February, yeah, class 4 is the exact same. Class 3 is a little bit down too. But here's your gas. Where do we see a big gain? Do we see a big gain? We don't. Which is weird, because we saw, didn't we see a gain in the actual gas numbers? And then materials are about the same, a little bit up. I love the idea that they want us to make something out of this chart. That's amazing. So this is what it looked like last year, or last month. And this is what it looks like this month. What I don't... Okay, so... Like, it's not even looks like they set it up right. This looks like a mistake, right? Because, like, this is... Like, look, these two lines are, like, this far away from each other. Here, those two lines are that far away from each other. The whole thing's squished, or it's, like, rotated on its side to make them all stacked on each other. But even still, like, what the... Okay, let's talk about what this is. You know what this was? This is the free-for-all. This is the free-for-all. The frigate free-for-all took place in March in Okamon. No, shit. Oleta. And as we can see, maybe? Can I fit it on the screen? I don't know, whatever. In the lower right hand, there's this thing. Hi. I shouldn't be, whatever. Silly. All right. And then here we have the Amar and Mimitar. I'm guessing that this is Aga? Is Aga Mimitar held? And then largest battle by solar system. You can see where the war is happening. It's pretty obvious. That's it. That is the economic report for March. Sweet. Man, we have covered a lot of things today. So maybe it's time to wrap things up somewhere. Oh, guys, we are actually extremely close to 5K subscribers. Let me double check. The current number is 4,967. So theoretically, within the next couple of weeks, a week or two, I should get the 5K. So I'll be doing a 5K AMA. That should so go ahead and DM me your questions or whatever. I'm going to start collecting them up. They added abyssal killing sprees and there's filaments everywhere. Only 7 trillion of that data has been traded, however. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Aga is currently a Minotaur frontline, so yeah, that's probably it. You can DM it, you can message me on Twitter. I'm just going to start collecting it. I'm not going to try to be like, oh, you know, hashtag blah, blah, blah. Like, just DM me, message me on Twitter, email it. I'll start collecting them together. We'll shoot to do it next week. Tomorrow is normally my day off. Might do it a day off, might not. I don't know. Probably. I still have like appointments and stuff, so probably. But Thursday, I want to try to do some more of the practical, like doing some Shadow War sites or talking about stuff like that. But I also have some lessons that I've been wanting to do too, like follow-ups based on what people have been asking for. So, yeah, we'll have to see. Unfortunately, I can't give you a good prediction right now. Yep, you can hit me up on Discord. In fact, actually, joining my Discord, which is for the Alliance, but it's also kind of got a public component to it, you can go in there and flag yourself with the role for YouTube, and then you'll get all the notifications of my YouTube videos and going live and stuff like that. But my stomach's actually starting to get churned up, so I want to go to the bathroom. So I'm going to wrap things up. I have been Ash Rothy. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put Eve into context for you, my fellow Empyreans. Thank you guys for watching and checking out the show. Thanks especially to... Why is it not up? Oh my gosh. Abyssus, Aikawarazu Chan, Arydanika the Queen, Belligerent Neckbeard, BlackRoseNoble, Dajat Lemmont, Drake, Golden Age Stories, J-Kun, LM1, Lumi, Malak Starfire, Midnight Space Monkey, Not Just Fun, Seeds of Plenty, Surrounding with No Eyes, Syliana Vel'ash, Tgen Tgen, Nephilim, Grendel, Yantey Lepouf, Zaul Nex, as well as my Immortal Tier patrons or supporters of Bomber's Bar, Eboleet, May, Merc Utan, Nihilem, and Rid. Thank you guys so much. And of course, Sean, for that awesome super chat earlier. You guys all rock. If you haven't yet, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel and share my stuff around, because it's starting to get out there and I can really tell that we're making a difference, guys. So let's make a better Eve for everyone. But until next time, I'm an Ash Rothy, the voice of New Eden, and I'll see you in space.
Bring on the wrecking machine. every city.